They put me in a holding cell. I think they'll want to take a statement from me, but since I admitted the crime in my first phone call to 911, I don't think there's much urgency. Meanwhile, I lie here on a hard Dunlopillow mattress with a waterproof cover and look at the whitewashed walls and the heavy metal door with a central viewing grill. I'm pretty calm. Indeed, relief is the best word I could use to describe my mental state. Glad the hard part is over and the pounding in my skull has subsided. My wife's lover is a real estate agent. He handles the lettings for Countrywide Lettings at their Leicester office. His name is Bruce. He's in his late 30s, tall, slender, and athletic, with tightly curled, dark hair that resembles a Persian lamb. His eyes are also dark, and he always has a ready smile with white, even teeth. I see that he is attractive to women, and my 40-year-old wife was no exception. We met him together one Saturday morning. We were interested in a flat near Royal Holloway College for our daughter Henny, who is starting university in the autumn. He promised to call their local agents and let us know. Beatrice said she would come by one evening after work and take everything he had. Well, it seems she took a lot more. I found out about their affair a couple of months later. I have no idea how long this went on, but one lunchtime I was in Leicester visiting a difficult client. I was walking down Charles Street and saw Beatty leaving the store hand in hand with him. I followed them at some distance until they entered a small bistro restaurant with curtained windows. At that time, I could do nothing more and returned to work with bad feelings. After a week, I realized it was a full-blown affair. She gave up her Wednesday and Friday volunteer work at the Oxfam bookshop and spent them at his flat. If I didn't know, I would never have suspected her behavior. Outwardly, our relationship has not changed. What changed was that I became hypersensitive to all the nuances in behavior and language, and I found it more and more difficult to smile and chat pleasantly. Beatty went to bed as she usually said, "Do not be late, and don't spank in the bathroom, and don't wake me when I fall asleep. You know how hard it is for me to fall asleep again." I sat and thought. I had to make a decision. Can I just move on from the failure of my marriage? Well, yes, to some extent. I'm that stereotype of subtle villainy, the taxman, and although I live in my home city of Leicester, I work at the tax office in Nottingham. The train ride takes 30 minutes, and I find that time on the train is always beneficial. It would be very easy to find a flat in or around Nottingham and shake the dust off your feet. On the other hand, why the hell should I? Can I continue as I am and move into rented accommodation? No, not in a million years. In the weeks since I discovered this affair, I have realized that I am a very angry person. Yes, this man suffers more from a bruised self-esteem than from a broken heart. How could she do this to me? Should I cause a confrontation? Maybe I can get some balm for my wounds by pouring out my pain and humiliation to her. No, not my style at all. All my working life, I have trained myself to be a spider, waiting for flies to fall into a trap. I read, listen, compare and analyze, and find weak points. Moreover, after 20 years of dealing with tax delinquents, fraudsters, embezzlers, and counterfeiters, listening to their feeble attempts at self-justification, I have developed a kind of grudging respect for insubordination and a sincere contempt for people who commit crimes and then grovel when caught. If she had said, "Fuck you, since when do you worry about what I do?" it would be difficult not to understand her. So, no confrontation with her. What about Curly Locks? Maybe meeting him would be possible. Can I scare him? Maybe not. He knew she was married the first time they met. It's no coincidence. No, it's no coincidence that he's been having sex with her for months. It is unlikely that he was touched by his grieving husband and father. How angry was I? How vindictive? At that moment, not as much as it became later. I became numb, as if I were in a hyperbaric chamber. As the night wore on, my mind spinning in meaningless circles like a gerbil on a wheel, I became angrier and angrier. I don't pretend to be the best husband in the world. Maybe I was a little lacking in passion, but Beatty is no better. It was she who decided that making love twice a week was excessive for a couple with a teenage child, and that once or twice a month was more age-appropriate. She started wearing a long, brushed cotton nightgown after decades of sleeping naked and nagged me until I couldn't stand the discomfort of my pajamas. This thought made me sit up straight in my chair. She weaned me off sex for a couple of years, and now I discovered that she has a lover. She really pulled the wool over my eyes. I was overcome with rage. 3 o'clock in the morning gave way to 4, and I was still fueling my anger. I was going to fight him not at civilized noon, but in the hour before dawn, beloved of the Gestapo and the KGB. And I wasn't going to go empty-handed. My brother recently gave me a Walther P38 pistol, which our father took from an SS officer in the last month of the war, along with a dozen 9mm cartridges, just what will scare Curly Strands. At this time of night and in this mood, it all sounded so reasonable. I put on my jacket and shoes, took the car keys, and went down to the garden shed where the gun was hidden. I put it in my jacket pocket, leaving the cartridges in the drawer. After all, I only wanted to scare him. 10 minutes later, I was approaching his apartment through the laundrette. I rang the bell and immediately started banging on the door. A minute later, he stood in front of me, with his hair disheveled from sleep and confused eyes, dressed in a t-shirt and boxers. I could see the lower half of a slender girl wearing only panties standing on the stairs above him. This was the last humiliation. "You pig!" I shouted. "Why are you sleeping with my wife? You can find a lot of chicks your age. You're just a creep." He started to close the door, but I pulled the gun out of my pocket and waved it. I sharply moved the cocking mechanism to make it look more intimidating. His eyes widened, and he looked scared. Any moment, I thought, the police would come and arrest me, and then Beatrice and everyone else would see how my life has been poisoned. I frantically grabbed the gun and then, to my horror, fired. The bullet hit him in the neck, and a stream of blood rushed up like a fountain, drenching me. I vomited bile, and he fell on his back, shuddering and trembling as his life bled out on the carpet in the cheap hall. I took out my cell phone and dialed 911. "Emergency services, what services do you require?" "Police and ambulance, please. I just shot a man. I think he's dying. Room 311A, Narborough Road. Please hurry up." A minute later, I repeated my statement to the police dispatcher and was told to wait for the car to arrive. I laid the gun on the mat and tried unsuccessfully to push a handkerchief into the wound, but the hole in the back of his neck was the size of a hen's egg, and it was clear that nothing would help. So here I am in this cell, waiting for the police to question me. There's one thing I'm sure of. Nothing in this world will force me to admit that all this happened by accident, and that I did not know that the cartridge was in the barrel. A man has pride. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.